Sue Smix-Lee, Esports host for numerous events, including the WCS, DreamHack Masters, and more. Gordon Hayward, professional basketball player for the Boston Celtics. Jeff In Control Robinson, commentator and gaming personality. And Susan Lil Susie Kim, former commentator and interviewer and the newly appointed general manager of the Overwatch League's London Spitfire team. Thank you all for joining us. Today's panel is a bit, well, backwards. Blizzard hosts many developer panels, but since today is about celebrating StarCraft's players and community, we thought, well, why not have members of the community from all walks of life and career on stage to share their stories. We'll be asking the questions to get the conversation started, but for those of you with your own questions, whether in the audience or online, we will have a Q&A segment, albeit a short one, at the end of the panel. If you'd like to ask questions to the panelists, please send it in via Twitter using the hashtag SC20PAX. That is SC20PAX, and it might be featured during our closing segment. Now, let's begin with some stories and questions so that the audience can get to know each of you who are joining us today better. We'll start with the pro basketball player on the video game panel, Gordon Hayward. So last year, Gordon, you were ranked by both the ESPN and the Washington Post as being in the top 20 players in the NBA. But at the same time, you're quite an advocate for gaming off the court. Let's take a look briefly at a video featuring you from back when StarCraft 2 had just released.
Gordon, what did I tell you about making supply depots, man? You're supply locked again.
Got this, man.
All right, man, he's going mutilus, so you need to get some missile turrets in your base right now.
Yo, I've done this before.
Gordon, you have 6,000 minerals saved up. What are you doing, man? Do you play like this in the NBA?
That's it. Let's take this to the court. Supply block. Block this. That's how I play in the NBA. Is that how you play in StarCraft?
I love the genuine laughs, but at the same time, at the end, it's like, the long-forgotten age of cringy esports ads. Am I right? So, Gordon, you're on stage here for the 20th anniversary of StarCraft. We know you've played a lot of games, some competitively, some casually, but can you tell us a bit about what StarCraft is for you?
Yeah, thanks for letting me come and be on the panel today. StarCraft was a game that really allowed me to connect with my friends from back home. To be honest, that was something for me. I left Indianapolis and went to Utah, Salt Lake City when I was 20 years old. No family, no friends there. I obviously had my teammates. Not any of them played StarCraft. But my friends from back home did, and so it was a way for me to, get on Skype, hang out with them for hours and hours, playing the game, trying to see who could be better than the other, and it was awesome.
That is awesome. One of the things that we'll be discussing, is really how StarCraft has connected people, and it's awesome to hear that very real story for you. Jeff, similar to how Gordon, as we saw, was really on the ground floor of when StarCraft 2 released, you began your journey very early with StarCraft, period. And throughout your life, you've really grown alongside this game, maybe unlike almost anyone else in the world. And now you've landed you have a full-blown career doing gaming commentary. So, well, actually, first, for anyone unfamiliar, I doubt many of you are, but for anyone who doesn't know Jeff, let's show a brief clip of what Jeff...
That's okay.
I promise, I pulled it. You have a lot of clips on the StarCraft top 10. It was very easy to...
This will be good.
When a Zerg gets greedy, you just kind of plant your face up against that Christmas frosted window and just say, maybe someday. You just kind of you look in there and you're like, are you guys having turkey dinner too? And you're like, is there soup in there? And you're like, yeah, we got all of it. And you're like, can I have any of it? And you're like, no. And you're like, Okay.
It cuts here, but Klar's
I
takes
think
over.
I saw 3 cannons there.
This is my favorite like adolescent Protoss moment that's playing. I'll step off the box for the but I'm not actually that tall. But I do like because that's also you can see the Protoss where they're like 3 cannons. Is that enough? Because there's also that thing where you over cannon rush and you build like 5 or 6, and the Zerg's just like, okay, I'm not defending, whatever, nerd.
As Kalaris, we cut it there, but Kalaris walks off stage and he actually takes his headset off. He's just so overwhelmed there. So Jeff, you call yourself one of the oldest esports. I'm quoting you here. One of the oldest esports players there ever, one of the oldest Starcraft players there ever was. You founded a Brood War team at 14. You've been a pro player. You've been a commentator. It's really been a big part of your life. So I'm curious for you, how has Starcraft shaped you as a person over all these years?
Well, it's too bad it's a 1-hour panel and there's other people here. I would
Makes
love
sense.
to give that answer the full time I could, but in short, StarCraft came into my life at a time when and I think this is a similar story for a lot of people in different ways, but my parents were going through a divorce, and I think gaming is one of the best ways you can find an escape. But I think unlike maybe other games, StarCraft doesn't allow you to like turn off your mind and not continue to think strategically or meet people. It's a very social experience. So instead of kind of burying my head in the sand, I buried my head in StarCraft, and it allowed me to look at me. I'm like 2 minutes into, I'm getting emotional. Sorry, guys. It allowed me to meet people, to network, to kind of run things and to socialize and to compete and to care about what other people thought and to compete at a higher level. So at a time where I kind of wanted to hide, it brought me out into the light and kind of made me into a better person, I think.
I think a lot of people here can relate with that, especially about how StarCraft, I think that's why a lot of us love StarCraft, one of the many reasons. It's a game that challenges you to be the best you can be. So similar to how, Jeff, you've been shaped a lot by StarCraft, Sue, you have also discussed some extremely transformative years thanks to finding and getting involved with the StarCraft community in numerous interviews. Can you tell us a little and tell the audience a little about the reaction that you had when you first went to Korea and saw, I think you were playing StarCraft before you went there, but when you went there and you saw the esports scene that was going on and then you came home?
So I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way when they first discovered that there was this super established professional league for StarCraft going on. I didn't even know that was a thing. And so when I first discovered that was going on in Korea, it just kind of blew my mind. It was something that I had watched my brother do growing up. He never let me touch the mouse myself, but I had a lot of fun watching him over his shoulder. But yeah, when I actually had the chance to go to Korea and experience it firsthand, it was absolutely mind-blowing because you think it's cool watching it through, a live stream, but to actually sort of experience the sort of raw energy of the fans that are cheering and the progression of the games that you're watching, it's an absolutely phenomenal experience. So that was really, really cool for me.
It's a good lesson for brothers too, like let your sisters play because they might get really famous and then talk about how you didn't let them play. So
You're making me feel really bad, Jeff. We used to unplug the power cord on each other, my sister and I.
Oh, my brother did that to me.
Really?
Opposite for us.
I may have done it to my... What, Susie?
No, I was saying it's the opposite for us. My little brother always wanted to play, and I wouldn't let him touch any controller at all.
I think it's the older sibling, so
Maybe
it's
it's
your
an
brother.
older sibling thing.
Yeah. So here we are years later in your case, Sue, and things have really paid off for you in terms of, how you followed that passion of yours. Last year, you were listed on Forbes 30 Under 30, and you're now being sought after by numerous event organizers, and generally, I think you've found a very successful career. In case, again, anybody doesn't know Smix, we're going to take a quick look.
Fuck!
Is it the clip, Sue, or did you forget to say something?
No, it's the clip. We don't need
It is time. Welcome to the 2017 World Championship Series Grand Finals. 마지막으로 한국, 중국에서 우승을 했지만 미국에서 우승한 건 처음이에요. 이 많은 팬들을 위해서 한마디만 해주세요. So he says, honestly, I didn't expect so many people to show up, so I was really surprised and so happy to see that. And guys, all that I have left is GSL. So at a GSL that's full of stacked, talented Korean players, I'm going to ensure to be a champion there as well. So congratulations again. We have it. The WCS Global Champion of 2017 is Rogue.
Guys, if you saw Sue, you know, back in the early days, and you see that now, you know how far she has come. She kicks ass, right? All right. I mean, what I have here, it's along those lines, like how far you've come. Your first days, you started by translating other people's interviews on Team Liquid, and now you're on stage doing it yourself. So, okay, so we still have 2 more panelists to introduce. Let's take a step away from esports for a moment and talk to Jonathan Burton, AKA Carbot.
Hi.
Did you say hi?
I said hi. Hi.
Hi. John, you and your team you guys have made hundreds of animated videos. You are rapidly approaching 1 million followers on YouTube, and it all started with StarCraft. For those unfamiliar with your work, we'll take a quick look at some of the things you had to say during a recent featurette, and then we can chat more.
My name is Jonathan Burton, and we are at the studio of Carbot Animations. I'm the animator and the main creator behind Starcraft. I work with my 2 brothers and my wife. I chose Starcraft to start just because that was the game I was playing a lot, and I love the competitiveness of the game. We create these cartoons because we love doing it, and we love Blizzard games. I am part of the community, and I wanted to do something for StarCraft. It's really given me direction, and that's so cool. That's so cool to say that, yeah, you kind of built this up from the ground, and that it's been supported by so many different people. I think it's awesome.
So what I really love here is that in this video, we're seeing you working with your brothers and with your wife, and it's really clear that StarCraft has brought your family together. Can you tell us about how it all got started in the first place?
Yeah, I was going to school for animation, and I wanted to do my own thing. You know, you get assignments for animation, so I was playing a ton of StarCraft 2. I was like super excited. I actually have a video of me opening the box. It's on my Facebook, but
really?
Yeah, I do actually. I was thinking about putting it on YouTube, but I just want to do my own cartoons, you know, that I call my own, and so I just thought I'd start on YouTube. You know, it's free, and I did, and I created 3 episodes before I released any of them, and I was super nervous, and I released the first one, and a lot of my friends were spamming it everywhere. Actually, they were posting on like Twitch chats and stuff like that. I had no idea that they were doing this because they really liked what I did, and I think it worked out. A lot of people seem to really enjoy the cartoons. But even as a creator, you see one negative comment and you like die inside. But I mean, now that actual perspective, there was so much positivity around it, and I don't know. I find myself extremely lucky to be in such a great position and a great start, actually. So yeah, it's kind of how it started. And then I just kept making them because people kept saying yes.
Because they're awesome, as is clearly evidence. You know, you look at any of those videos, so many views, so many followers, and it's really awesome to have you here. Our final panelist, Susie Kim, is no stranger to persistence. Susie, you have talked a lot about your long-standing passion to both bridge the esports, you know, that really developed at the time esports, the Korean esports scene, and kind of take it to the world. And since then, maybe even just your mission is to spread esports. Actually, I want to. Okay, we're gonna throw to a clip because we've done that for everybody, and so
we can skip that. That's really cool.
We'll show Susie. You've been in the scene for a long time, and we're gonna take a look at some of her earliest days in commentary with Nick Tasteless Plot.
Oh my.
Here's our set 4, and we are on destination. Let's go.
This might be it. This is going to be it. GG. Wow. Did that just happen?
I think it did.
Zedong might lose, which would be like the upset of the entire tournament.
I think so. God, I don't know.
You could not get more upset than that. You could have more of an upset than that.
That would make me upset, and it would be an upset.
I can't believe this. I can't believe that just happened. Whoa.
However, you know that Zedong is good. He's known for, like, in the best of 5, he loses 1 and wins 3 in a row.
Yeah, that's true.
This could have been one of those where he loses the first one and he wins the next 2. So
Yes.
we don't know what to expect.
Why would you do that to me?
Susie you didn't do a whole lot of commentary, but I think that clip and the fact that she did it, it's a really good testament to how many roles you've really taken on in the esports community. And I hope to talk more about that soon. But you started off kind of with StarCraft in 2004. You know, you were doing interviews, translation, moved into commentary. But ultimately, things went in a really different direction for you, you know, now being the general manager of an Overwatch team. Was the road kind of from your beginnings to where you are now, was it really rocky, or did it feel like a smooth progression for you?
I think it kind of just happened. I never sought out any of these positions. They just kind of fell into my lap. Or if there was a need for something, I would just volunteer my time. I think a lot of us that started early, it was really a #passion project, right? It was, you just do it because you love doing it. And like you said, I've casted poorly, but I've done interviews, translated, hosted, managed. I've worn a lot of hats. And I think it's not just, StarCraft gave me my start, but it's not just the game, it's esports on the whole. It's the industry that drives me, and it's the community, and it's all you guys sitting here listening to us talk, and I'm sitting here going, why do they even want to hear what I have to say? But it's the community that drives me, and so, yes, I started with StarCraft, because that was the prime game at the time, and then, you know, I did move over to League of Legends, and now here I am with Overwatch, and it's just because I want to, like you said, connect a lot of my Korean experience and all the relationships I have with Korean players and Korean teams, and try to bridge that gap for the Western audience as well. And then I kind of, I guess, pick the game where I feel like I can have the most reach and be able to influence or provide something for the most amount of people.
It feels like your mission is esports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like a esports missionary. That's like what you're making me sound like. Believe in esports, everyone. It will save your soul.
Susie, to this day, has one of my favorite interviewing styles. I think has not been replicated yet. Because Koreans, and I'm going to generalize here for a second, tend to give really shitty interviews. So she would go to them and be like, I'm going to ask you what you're going to do with your winnings. They'd be like, okay. And she's like, and you're not going to say that you just give it to your parents. You're going to give a much more exciting answer. And they'd be like, yes, ma'am, of course. And they did.
It all comes with getting that rapport with the players, right? And I, as you say, you're like the granddad of esports. I'm even older than you, and so that makes me like great grandma. I don't even know. But I have this relationship with the players where I can ask them and be like, guys, I don't want to hear, you know, please cheer for me. I will show you good games. I actually want you to say something, and then they'll be like, can I say this? And I go, no, let's change that. You know, so the answers they give are true to what they want to say. They're just scared to say, except, you know, and I kind of goad them that way.
Yeah. She helped them do what they wanted to do, for sure.
Yeah, and it feels kind of like that's what you're helping esports do. Like esports wants to grow, and you know, I think there's so many people out there that you're helping connect with it. So,
I hope
all right,
so.
let's start down the line and kind of get the discussion flowing a little. I want to ask a very simple, open-ended question. If there's one thing that you most appreciate about what StarCraft has done for you, or given you, or anything really that you appreciate about StarCraft, what would it be? And we could start, I guess, with John.
Okay. Well, it gave me a job, so there's that.
I think that might be true for everyone.
Yeah. There you go.
But and you know, it's kind of maybe.
Gordon. I think Gordon has a job outside of esports.
Gordon's like the only reason I'm in the NBA, StarCraft for sure. Yeah.
Fair point. So yeah, I think outside of kind of work, maybe that it's given you, whether it's, you know, bonding with your family or really just, I don't want to push you in a direction, but I want to say that it's kind of done for your character or your kind of those elements of your life that you feel define you, right? What has it given you?
Yeah, something that I really love about the game, that it really does for me, is that Well, one, it's one game that I can always watch. Like, there's no other game that I could watch and enjoy as much as StarCraft. No matter how long I've played or how much I've played, I can still watch it and enjoy it. It's because of the strategy, all the elements that are added to it, with you know, APM and everything that goes with playing that game, the mind games or whatever it is. That I love that, you know, when I show people StarCraft, I want them to know that, because at first they're like, oh, this looks cool, and it's like, no, you're controlling all this, you're making all this happen, meanwhile reacting to the other player, and so I love that element of StarCraft, and I think that is what resonates with me, and that it exercises a lot of muscles, whether it's mental muscles or.
Would it be fair to say that it's like you feel like you're connecting with your opponent in a way that kind of normal life doesn't allow you?
Yeah, and so I think it's a unique game because of that.
Yeah, we can just walk it down, or if someone has more thoughts on that.
Go, Sue.
Okay.
Go, Sue.
So I would agree with John that it has also given me my career, my entire career actually, and just sort of adding on to something that Jeff had mentioned earlier in terms of when he kind of fell into it, he was going through sort of a hard time in his life. It was very much the case for myself as well. When I first started discovering the StarCraft community on teamliquid.net, and I sort of fell into that world, it was when I was starting to get sort of severely depressed because of other things that were going on in my life. So it became this sort of escape from a reality that I was having trouble dealing with. And then to go from being in a position where life was not so great, and to kind of be able to turn this sort of side passion that I found with the StarCraft community and just loving watching the game, and to have that turn into a career, like, that is just absolutely still baffling to me that happened to me. So when I say that StarCraft changed my life and gave me a career, I mean that in like the most sincere way, because I literally would not be here doing what I'm doing in any sense of the word in 2018 if it weren't for the fact that I accidentally watched professional StarCraft in Korea.
There's something about doing what you love and being able to pursue that and it actually yielding something that's really beautiful. Gordon, how about you?
Yeah, I cannot say that it gave me my career. But, I mean, the reason why I love StarCraft and video games in general was it was another outlet for competition for me. I'm a very competitive person. And when I wasn't competing on the basketball court, it was something I could go back, and I don't know if there's another game as competitive as StarCraft. It was by far the hardest game I'd ever played. I grew up playing console games, playing Halo, and when I switched and started playing StarCraft, I mean, I felt like I was pretty good at Halo, and I was putting in a lot of hours of StarCraft, and like I was stuck in platinum, like stuck in diamond, like could not get better, and I loved it though. Like I probably hate to lose more than I love to win, and my mood would a lot of times depend on how my ladder system was going.
I think that could be true of a lot of people.
Yeah, but it allowed me, like when I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't playing basketball, I could still compete and try to be better than my friends, try to be better than anyone else. So.
Did you like that it was all on you?
I did. I liked that it was like mano y mano, like me versus someone else. You got all the glory when you won, all the blame when you lost. Like, I like that. I like that.
Something really unique to the game, right? So.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Jeff.
I think a very similar answer for me, but I would distill it down to work ethic, and I think all the things that kind of entails. When you're playing StarCraft, it's kind of like willingly subjecting yourself to a digital noogie for as long as you want. Like, it can be 10 hours out of the day, it can be 5. But no matter what level of StarCraft you're at, you are suffering on some, I mean, and this is like, the Blizzard people are like, don't say that, but it's true. But it attracts a certain kind of people, and I see a kindred spirit with a lot of these panelists where you like the challenge, you like that it makes you self-reflective on what you can do better. It is that mano-y-mano attitude and atmosphere. You don't get to be like, yeah, but David Kim. I mean, you can do that, but on some level, you're just saying yourself. So it really taught me to kind of analyze what I can do better and to put in the time and work, and then to really get excited about improving at something. And I can see that reflected in different aspects of my life where I'm able to kind of compartmentalize things and just decide, okay, I was able to do that, and I feel good about that, and I accept that. Or I'm not there yet, but I believe I can get there. That's kind of the forever promise of StarCraft is no matter how much you suck at something, if you just put enough work in, you will still suck but feel better about sucking less. And I think that's something we can all wrap our head around. So.
That's fair.
And here I was going to point out, you know, I feel like you mentioned the kind of, you know, David Kim meme, right? But I feel like you're missing out on one of the core parts of StarCraft when you take that path, right? So, Susie,
It's
how
a
about you?
little bit of everything. So I first discovered professional StarCraft when I was in Korea 2004. I was teaching English in a town like an hour and a half out of Seoul, and I had no friends and I didn't know anyone and nobody really spoke English. And I would come home after school and turn on OGN and I would watch these people play this game that I was really bad at, and they did it really well. Obviously, it gave me my career as well. It was always a hobby, and then sometime in 2013, I decided to just take the plunge and have it be a full-time thing. So yeah, it was my friend when I was really lonely back in 2004. It was really awesome when I discovered TeamLiquid.net and saw that there were non-Korean people who enjoyed Korean esports. Like, that was really weird. It was really, that's like when I met you. I was like, why do you like this?
Yeah, no
This is
stories
kinda
there, though.
weird.
That's fine.
We'll just, and then, yeah, and it gave me my career, and it made me a bunch of friends. But different from you guys, I'm very not competitive at all. I'm more about community. I liked playing, like I'm like a 3v3 BGH kind of gal. Like I don't like the 1v1s at all because I'm really bad at it, but I enjoyed that aspect of working together with your teammates and, you know, cheering together if you win and then complaining together when you lose. So,
Like in Overwatch. Right?
yeah.
Yeah. Very supportive community.
Yeah. So, Smix, your face is on the table, but I'm going to ask you a question. Can you handle it? Okay. She was laughing so hard for those of you in the back. So, you have kind of had experiences now with multiple gaming communities, and obviously you spent a lot of time with StarCraft.
Yeah, so which one's best, obviously? I'm just gonna...
Wait, what?
You want to ask her which one's the best community, obviously.
I was
right?
thinking of going that route, but I feel like the answer's kind of just, you know, very binary, and one answer's
Andrew's the
scary and the
moderator
other.
here, Jeff.
What? So the question is essentially what we got a whole bunch of people here that love StarCraft, right? What about this community do you feel like is makes them great? You know, what is it that you love about them? And then I think if anybody else has thoughts on it, feel free to chime in after.
So what I think is so cool about StarCraft, if I were to, the community, is that when I first discovered the sort of pro scene that was going on in Korea, that was back in 2008. And, you know, obviously we're 10 years down the road since then, which I know some people like Susie have been involved even before that, and Jeff as well. But for me, what the coolest part is, you know, Susie, In Control, these are names that I kind of discovered through TeamLiquid.net. And we're still in love with this game today. So I think the coolest thing for me over the past 10 years has been seeing how we're all changing in different ways. We may have different jobs, we may have families, we may have babies. No matter what our lives are, you know, no matter how we are changing, it seems to me that the commonality is that we're still in love with StarCraft at its core. Like, I think that you can easily say that about, you know, all of us on this panel, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the audience as well. And I think that's absolutely amazing. It's a very timeless thing. So.
I love how, I mean, we're celebrating 20 years, and that's very indicative of like my experience, but people have had some experience with StarCraft everywhere, like someone's dad, mom, brother, like somebody they knew. And in my walk of life, it comes up all the time. Like I've had a TSA agent like lean in at the end with their hands like right next to my scrotum, and they'll be like Protoss sucks, and I'll be like, what? You know. Just to give an example.
I've not had that experience.
Yeah,
that's just like an average day for you, Jeff, right?
It's nothing like a cold hand at that time.
You were in really short shorts, man.
Yeah. So, cool. But it's like it's just everywhere, and it's so amazing. And I got to meet so many of my mom's ex-boyfriends, just like everywhere.
Must be a lot of esports viewing in the family, yeah.
Everywhere, yeah.
That's why you love it. Anybody else want to chime in on that, or I can kind of take us down a different path, away from the millimeter scans and the TSA agents. So StarCraft, one of the things you kind of talk about, this ubiquitous of it. It also really forms really powerful memories, I think, for a lot of us. This game elicits, and whether it's when you're losing and you get frustrated, like Gordon was saying earlier, or whether it's when you're winning and you kind of get these highs, like this game brings emotion and a lot of connectivity. What are the moments for you guys that really relate to the game that really stick out in your mind? Everyone's looking at John.
I'll go. Are you guys looking at me? I just like messing around in the game sometimes, and seeing what works, and that's again one of the awesome things about the game is there's a lot of moving parts. And one game in particular, I was playing Protoss against a Zerg, and that Terran command center trick or it was a trick for like a week before people realized but you would load up all your SCVs and fly to the corner of the map and kill the last SCV and pretend like you didn't spawn at all.
Yeah, Steps of War was like perfect for it, right?
It was like it was there.
We're horrible people in StarCraft sometimes.
I tried a Protoss version, and
what
that
That's
what that meant is that so I was in a lower league at the time. I can't remember. It was either gold or it might have been. I can't imagine it being platinum. But Zerg didn't attack me. I somehow was able to build. I think it took a couple matches to actually do this. I built a fleet beacon. And built a mothership before the Zerg even saw me, okay? Before he even scouted me. I don't know what was going on in that game. But anyway, I took all my probes and killed everything except the Heartless Farm. So was it 6 probes at the time? And then I built a Nexus in the corner of the map and cloaked it with a mothership. Floating off the map.
Off the map, yeah.
Yeah, the mothership's
you can
floating
see it in
off
the corner,
map.
yep.
So he comes in and kills my base. I'm like, this is great. Now we wait. And I waited there.
How long?
You're disgusting.
Yeah. It was like 40 minutes. And then I started seeing creep come up in my vision. I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, leave the game.
Did he ever find it?
He found it. I don't understand. I waited for like 45 minutes, and he's flying around with like corruptors and mutalisks on the outside of the map. I'm like, dude, I was Protoss. I'm not flying around. But he found me. So yeah, that was probably one of the games I'll always remember that I forgot to save the replay to, but probably didn't save it because I wasn't successful. But
this is being broadcasted right now, and we're gonna start. If you're silver or gold, bronze maybe, keep an eye out.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh God, I wish we had ended with that one. Who can follow?
One of my favorite memories of the game was probably making those ridiculous videos in San Francisco. I actually also did one where it was a big deal when LeBron decided to take his talents to South Beach, and I parodied the whole interview, which I'm actually pretty happy they didn't go mainstream because
we almost.
Yeah, that was pretty
that was
bad.
Good acting.
Yeah,
It was.
but just being a part of that whole thing and meeting a bunch of those people and kind of just diving headfirst into the community, that was something that was really cool for me, just to be able to do. I'd never done anything like that before as far as making videos, and I was able to tell my mom that I was going to make money playing video games, and that was probably the best thing ever because I had a limit growing up, could only play so much, and so I told her it finally paid off for me doing that. So.
Similar to him, my experience, my favorite kind of memory, I guess, from StarCraft isn't the game itself, but kind of like Susie was saying, there's just so much that there's so many different things that happen around the game that are really big, and we did a show called State of the Game many years ago, which I think some people know, yeah. Thank you, guys. JP is here as well, somewhere out there. But it's very easy in this world to be like, that's what I was saying. Susie said she just kind of fell into it. I think a lot of people that are career StarCraft or gaming people didn't really pursue it. It just kind of happened, and that was definitely my story as well. But to hear that it means more to people is a really big deal. And after one particular episode of Say the Game, someone reached out to us and said, hey, we've been listening to your show on our rooftop, and this is a person from Australia, because there's such severe flooding that they're waiting for a helicopter to kind of pick them up and rescue them.
Wait, really?
And the only thing that they really wanted to do to pass the time and not think about all their stuff getting washed away was watch our show. And it was at that moment that you're like, what I do isn't just necessarily silly playing games. It has a deeper impact and more meaning for people. And ever since then, I've kind of worn that as like a badge of honor, where like, at first glance, it's very easy to be like, I can't believe they're still paying me to do this. They haven't figured out that I'm just like playing video games. But it means more to people, and it's important to realize that that's the kind of impact you can have. And that was one of the big memories for me.
I think similarly, it's about the community. I keep saying community, but it really is about the community. I used to do T-shirt sales off of teamliquid.net. I used to sell things that you could only find in Korea because you needed a Korean bank account, a Korean social security number to get it. And so I would make these deals with the teams and say, hey, I will buy 500 T-shirts or whatever it is with my own money. I'm going to sell it to this community. Is that okay? And they would give me the okay, and I would do this. And obviously 500 shirts for a very large community is nothing. So I would have raffles, or I would have people email me. And some of the stories that I had gotten would be, for example, there was a guy from Oklahoma who messaged me and was like, I watch this, I turn on the stream and I watch Korean esports till 4 in the morning. I have no friends, and nobody understands what I do, but it would mean so much to me if I had this one SKT shirt, or, this Hwasung Oz jacket, or whatever it was. And it made me realize that Starcraft is a connector between all of us. Like, it's an interest that, I don't know, it's such a universal interest, and it made me realize that what I'm doing, I'm just selling a bunch of shirts because I can, and like, I don't have to do this, but it means so much to those who want it so badly, and I'm really, in a way, helping them sort out whatever they're going through in their lives by providing this for them. And I think those are the aspects for me that kept me into StarCraft and in esports altogether.
Yeah, it's something that you just kind of were doing because you could.
Yeah.
To help people, but then you were realizing how much meaning it had. It's awesome.
I'm actually really sad I never kept any of those shirts for myself, because I'm sure they'd be worth a lot at this point. But
yeah, I think Wolf's collecting like everything under his bed to sell, like 35 years from now. So he has tons of jackets and shirts. And all right, so Gordon, I have a question for you. Kind of on a similar vein, but a little different. You're a pro basketball player, and I guess I have a question about the differences in what sports and esports mean for you, and if you've put some thought into that, or if you have any really, if anything comes to mind when we compare, or what they mean for people who follow these sports and are really passionate, or there's some similarities or differences that you would want to highlight, because I think you're in a really unique position where, kind of how Susie might have been an example of someone up here who was in the thick of esports when it was really something. And it was very early, and I feel like there's kind of these worlds that you're standing in between, or at least were back, when you had to ask permission. Hey, can I compete in a video game tournament? Right. So, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many similarities between traditional sports and esports, and I have talked about it a lot. Went on Colin Cowherd's show and argued with him about it. I think some similarities are, I think people, when they think of like an esports competitor versus a traditional sports competitor, like there's just this, esports competitor's lazy, fat, out of shape, in his mom's basement, that's what he is, versus you got the sports player who's in shape, taller, athletic, whatever. And for me, it's more about like how much work each person has put in to become the professional that they are. I don't think people understand how much effort it takes to be a pro StarCraft player. Arguably more than what it takes me to be a pro basketball player. I work on my game 3 to 5 hours a day in the off season, and video game players, professional, they'll play 8 to 10 hours and then stream afterwards. You know, like to me, it's that part of it. They are under just as much stress as well when you're in the thick of a competition, in the finals with everything on the line. And so for me, that's similar. I think the fans see that of their, you know, of each competition. They all see that. I think now they're kind of bridging the gap, and it's becoming more mainstream with these different leagues. But especially back then, it was hard for me to explain, like, no, look, these guys are legit, and the fan bases are legit. They're selling out arenas, like it's a real thing, and it's the real deal. And for me to kind of see it on one hand in the real, like, traditional sense sports world, and then kind of see how esports is growing and kind of becoming that. I mean, Rick Fox is seen both as well, and you know, he runs a team, and so that's, to me, it's really cool to see kind of how it's growing and getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So I think this connects well. Jeff, you really grew up with that scene as a competitive player and running teams and having a whole bunch of different roles. I mean, you signed with Evil Geniuses when payments were in peripherals instead of dollars. So can you tell us a little about what it's been like to really grow up in the midst of all this as a player? And, you know, maybe you can talk about the transition too.
Yeah, I think even specifically StarCraft is in a really crazy, interesting spot because it is attributed with a lot of, especially in 2010, kind of the emergence of Twitch as a platform for people to watch. And I think the two of them coming at that time meant that esports was starting to really be more than just really weird guys in spacesuits competing in, you know, some older games, and more of something that people could actually watch on a kind of casual basis. But I see it also as like early just competitive sports as well, like the kind of things that you do. You kind of have to convince, not even convince, but you just believe in it and you're doing it, so it just starts to become something more people believe in that has a very reminiscent feeling. Like when I was first doing events, it was like a lawn chair and a fold-out table and my mom behind me or something, and now it's a stadium of people watching. It's commentators that make six figures. It's audiences at home in the hundreds of thousands, and it's really cool to see that it started in a place where people were like, oh, you know, it was like a party trick. Like your uncle would be like, Jeff, tell them what you do for a living, please. And you'd be like, thank you, uncle. I play video games. And everyone kind of chuckles, and they're like, wow, look at the monkey. And it's like, yeah. But then later, they're like, my nephew won't shut up about you and wants your job. And I'm like, yep, that's the standard now. And it's kind of nice. Because when we did first start playing StarCraft, nobody was like, oh, I'm going to make a living doing this. They were just like, this is amazing. I'm going to use my living to do this. And then it kind of transitioned into people really support it. And I take it as a point of pride, too, that we have people on this panel that have gone in different paths, and it's enriched their lives. I look at little Susie and Sue, and even to a certain extent Mr. Hayward here, who, like, they had StarCraft in their life. They gone off and did different things, but it's still something they talk about, and it still enriches them. And I think that is the cool amateur to pro experience.
John, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from you in a little, and so I have this really funny quote that I actually can't believe you said. It's awesome to me. So you were talking about how you found kind of your inspiration for your StarCraft cartoons.
Yeah.
And you said, hold on, I gotta find the quote here. Okay, you said that when you're making a StarCraft, you look for, quote, the most ridiculous, annoying, or frustrating parts of the game to inspire you. And I gotta wonder, like, did Blizzard give you, you know, like some lip for that, or were they just cool with it, or what? How did that? Was it just fine? You would think.
Well, I found inspiration through frustration and yeah.
Well, I think if you don't have much on it, like it all culminated kind of with the.
Well, I think I grew up with I have 5 brothers, and I was the 7th child.
Holy.
And yeah, there's 8 kids in my family. But so our last 3, we all fought over the computer, and it was all Blizzard games, and StarCraft, obviously, one of them. And so we could only play one at a time, and we were talking about siblings earlier, where like the other ones would just watch. And but so when we weren't playing, we'd talk about it, and what we do when we love something, we make fun of it. That's just I feel like a lot of people do that, and so we would talk. Yeah, we would talk about what happened, and then we would imitate it and then exaggerate it, and I'm pretty sure like our mom thought we were just, I don't know, something was wrong with us, but yeah, we'd be in the basement and just joke about that stuff and laugh at it. So I think when starting to make YouTube cartoons about it, it just kind of came natural, where like we would kind of pinpoint the crazy things, the ridiculous things, or things that are so frustrating or don't make sense, like a roach burrowing under a supply depot that's lowered, and just like that kind of stuff.
Or the command center can't go down because of the zergling,
because
right?
Of zergling, yeah, exactly.
Like
and so we'd laugh about that,
tons.
and yeah, and so I think it kind of sprouted from there. But yeah.
I think it's a question I wanted to ask. I wasn't with Blizzard when we first got hired, and so I was like, were there any conversations with Davey? I know in the end you were making Nerfing time videos with him, but great. So I think we've talked about a lot of different areas of StarCraft now, and we're getting ready to go into our Q&A. And so I just want to ask one final question for each of you, which is, if there was literally anything in the StarCraft universe that could exist in the real world, whether it was a theme park, or a real-life battle cruiser, or a zergling riding a Hellion wielding a C-14 Gauss rifle, what would it be?
I guess I'll start again. A gateway. You could teleport. That'd be great. No more planes. That'd be awesome. All right, yeah.
John's a gateway.
I'm going to have to go with the medics. I injured my ankle this year. It'd be nice for that one. Just right back to work. Right back on the court.
I think having a pet zergling would be really cute. Definitely.
Is that you play World of Warcraft and use the zergling pet?
Yeah. Oh no, but I mean, just they're adorable. They're tiny, and if they die, they can spawn a new one real quick. And
be scared of you with pets, Susie.
Long.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's very easy. I would want the love of Kerrigan and Jim Raynor to be even remotely possible, where a man loves a woman so much that if she became an alien being that committed genocide across the entire known universe, he would still want to bone. That is hands down.
That's empathy and understanding. Can all aspire to be more like your mythological Raynor. All right. I think we're ready to field some questions from Q&A from Twitter. And so, oh, cool. Looks like we have some fresh ones. How did each of you celebrate StarCraft's 20th anniversary? And what suggestions would you have for other big fans who want to celebrate with the community? So, yeah, anybody wants to field that one? You're here. I can say that first off.
Yeah, we're all here. We're celebrating it. I've been watching a lot of the events that Blizzard has been doing online. There was one with Twitch just a few weeks ago. There's just all over the world, everyone celebrating together, because it really is about how StarCraft has been a part of our lives and brought us all together. And this is, I guess, my time to say, I actually got a tattoo of a probe on my ankle. A StarCraft 1 probe from Brood War, because that is the superior game. But it's also a reminder that, it gave me my start. The probe is your starting unit, and no matter what you build in your life, if other people knock it down or your base just doesn't work out, as long as you have a probe, you can always rebuild. You can always continue on and make that new base that you need. So that's kind of my way of honoring StarCraft, I guess, and yeah.
So here's an interesting one. Esports seems to be moving towards team-based games. Why do you think this is the case, and what do you think the future is for one-on-one duels in esports?
Great question.
A lot of thought behind it, sorry.
I think team games have a lot of really fun aspects of like inter-squad relationships and how they unfold, and there's more kind of a production around it. I don't think that necessarily means that you don't have it in 1v1, but I think a lot of people also tend to watch what they play, and I think a lot of people are playing team games right now. I wouldn't necessarily say it's only because everyone lacks the ability to have to rely. I was gonna make a joke here, but I just stumbled over it. So that's it.
All right.
That's it. You gotta know when you can quit right there. So.
Anyone else with thoughts on team games in 1v1? Okay. We will move to a question from Timothy O'Grady 3. I grew up with StarCraft custom maps like Evolves back when, I remember that one, back when starting map names with special characters was, back when it was good to start them with, he has a $sign in front. What is your favorite custom map from StarCraft 1 or 2? Everybody's like,
My favorite StarCraft 2 is StarCrafts by Carbot Animation. It was really good. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Thank you.
BGH fastest.
This one is specifically for you in control. What was the greatest competitive StarCraft match ever broadcasted?
Oh.
Wow. I don't think there's any good answer I could possibly give on that, but my own bias would be, one of them would be the time at BlizzCon when Jaedong came back to win in the, I think it was semifinals, and the fandom he has, the excitement they were there at BlizzCon, and I was on the analyst desk there to kind of like absorb it in, was something that I'll remember for my whole life, because he's also, Mr. Hayward would love him if you ever met him. He is like competitive embodiment, and he wanted it so bad, and he needed to believe that he could. And this was one of the first big results for him to show that he is that world-class StarCraft 2 player, because he comes from Brood War where he was the best. So it was just an amazing moment for me and him. And everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
This feels like a question maybe some others can speak to. Anybody have any thoughts on what was the greatest esports match of all time?
Like Jeff said, I think it's hard to pinpoint like a really great competitive esports match, because honestly there's been so many, but something kind of adding on to what Jeff said when it came to Jaedong, I remember when Flash and a bunch of these amazing Brood War players were first sort of transitioning to StarCraft 2, and we had brought them to, well, not me, but MLG and Kespa had brought them all to MLG Anaheim, and this was back in, I believe, 2012, and I remember what happened was they were all coached to say a very specific English line when they were on stage. And so Flash's freaking line was, he grabbed the mic and he said, "If you know me, make some noise." Oh my God, and I just died. I mean, it was fantastic, but it was like, it was a great, great moment. Something that can only happen in 2012 and be accepted,
I remember that. You can actually watch that video. Ask Joshy has a clip of it on his YouTube channel, and it was something.
It was.
Someone did a backflip. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, it was Leda.
Yeah?
He was on that debate. Okay.
I was still a newbie back then. That was my first live event after IPL 3. Okay, last Q&A question. This one from Strategy of Minds. What advice would you offer to someone trying to break into the esports scene?
God, I get asked that question so many times. Like we had said before, we've been in esports for a long time, so it's kind of hard to think back on how we got here. And it all comes down to, we do it because we love it. Think about what you are good at. Think about what community you enjoy. And then start thinking about what's that community lacking and how can you contribute to it? Do they need more content? Do they need more video editors? Do they need, whatever it is. Think about your skills and what you can contribute and how you can make that community better. And then from there, do it. Just do it, put in that time, volunteer, get your content, you know, have people look at it, contact people at events, go to tournaments, and really network. And then from there, your passion and your work, and if you're good at what you do, will get noticed. I mean, if you suck at what you do, then I'm sorry that I guess it's kind of hard. Like, that's why I say find something you're good at, but it's, no, I'm being totally honest. Yeah. I'm not promising that you'll get a job in esports. Just do what you're good at and continue pressing forward to it, and eventually your effort and your quality of product will show, and people will take onto it, and you'll end up somewhere that you love, because it's a community, it's a field that you love, and it's something you're good at. And you know, I actually studied counseling, and I studied career counseling, and that's basically what it is. Find what you're good at, find what there's a lack of, and see how you can contribute, and push on. Nothing is going to fall into your lap. Nothing is going to be handed to you. You need to go out and do it. And as long as you're doing something you love, then it shouldn't matter even if you fail, right?
I think that's a phenomenal answer. Does anyone have anything to add to that? All right, as we come to a close, then I'd like to ask one final question. Who would you like to thank in the StarCraft community for playing the largest role in your love of the game?
I know this is gonna sound kind of like cheesy, but honestly, I have to really thank the community that I found on TeamLiquid.net like 10 years ago, because they became sort of the brothers and the friends that I didn't even know I could create when I was going through this sort of a hard time. And this is before, you know, Twitch became a thing where you can, you know, chat while you're watching a live stream happen. I remember back then what people were doing was they would create a live thread of a game that was going on. Yeah. And literally, you would just see like post, and if something crazy happens in a game, suddenly 4 pages would go by, and that was sort of Twitch chat back in the day. Yeah. So I remember it just being such a surreal, super awesome experience where if some crazy moment happened in game, we're all just posting like, oh my god, that Zergling rush, whatever, and then like 4 pages would go by. And honestly, it's those days with that community that really cemented the sort of love I have, not just for the game, but for the community, as Susie mentioned many times. And I think that's exactly why I'm even here today doing what I'm doing now.
We're short on time, I want to let you know, but I also want to give an opportunity for everyone to thank anyone who was important to them. So
I want to thank Mike.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I want to thank Mike Morheim, because he's been fantastic. He's always supported StarCraft. StarCraft has been his passion, and thus makes it our passion. And he, you know, and he's always actually says to me and the rest of the casters, he's always thankful to us for the ones to bring it to the world. And I think that's amazing when someone so high up in a company also shares that same passion with you and appreciates what you do. So thanks, Mike. I think you're awesome.
It looks like we're out of time, so I want to encourage any of you to hop on Twitter and express your thank you. Sorry to cut you short. Thank you, all of you, for being here on your way